Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the week of June 15th to 21st. And we are together in New York City. Tali sitting with the little new ginger hair, thanks to Joe Blackwell from Artistry with Edge. Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for hooking up the locks.
Joe has been doing our hair since 1999. She's been such an influential Gemini in our lives.
And it's her birthday week, too. So happy birthday to Joe and all of our listeners who are late Geminis and early Cancers, because yes, this is the last week of Gemini season, and we have the solstice on Saturday. We have a few little Venus moments happening early in the week.
and the big news on Friday is when Chiron goes into Taurus for the first time since 1983. I think briefly 1984, it was in there for a second. Was it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit in 1984 then. Then it
Yeah.
popped out for good. But
Mhm.
and now it's back for just 3 short months from this Friday, June 19th until September 17th. And then it goes back in April 14th, 2027 to May 5th, 2034. And for us, and us, some of us Gen Xers, born in the earlier part of the 70s, this is very welcome news because we are at the end of our Chiron return cycle. So,
Yeah.
a planetary or a cosmic return, well, we'll get into what that means. But Chiron takes 49 to 50 years to go all the way around the zodiac and return to where it was when you were born. And then, it has this wonky orbit between Uranus, the planet of liberation and freedom, and Saturn, the planet of boundaries and structures. So, the traditional astrologers didn't have the telescopes until 1781 to see past Saturn. So Saturn was the end of it all, the boundary of, and now we know there are more planets, even a 11th planet and a 12th and a 13th, but potentially, but we definitely know that Uranus is there, and Chiron sits between there. It's the wounded healer, that's its name. It represents the wound that never really heals, but that turns us into a healer that exposes our healing gifts through our own internal growth and transformation. So when it changes signs, the whole world undergoes a healing together. So, I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in Aries since 2018. It was last there 1969 to 76. So Chiron and Aries periods are about healing the collective wounds around aggression, ego, war. We've seen all of those things.
Healing and exposing.
And identity,
Yeah.
selfhood. I mean, the last 8 years have really been about that with the Black Lives Matter movement emerged. There's been so much in the realm of identity politics, but also unlearning, reckoning, reclamation for a lot of our fellow Jews, a lot of unlearning and having to reckon with what's being done in our name in Gaza as well, but still
Lebanon.
fight in Lebanon and all over the Middle East, but also still find some kind of sense of identity aside from that. So, but it's not just Jewish people. It's like almost everyone has had to go through a cultural either emergence or awakening or
Yeah, we went
reckoning.
from trans lives matter, Black Lives Matter to the attack on DEI and ICE. And, we're seeing, I mean, Chiron being the wound that never heals in that way. But also where we need to heal and work towards healing. It's and I think about Aries also being a fire sign, like climate change and the world heating up.
The
And
super El Nino that may happen this summer, even though,
yeah,
well, I mean, that's while Chiron's in Taurus, but Taurus is an earth sign. So our reckoning with the climate and money as well are ahead. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, what Chiron in Taurus brings, but just hint, it was there during the 1929 Wall Street crash. So
yeah,
yeah.
we'll get into that. I will
Doesn't mean that
say,
history will repeat, but as Mark Twain says, sometimes it rhymes. We had the SpaceX wild, overvaluated, hyped IPO last week. We'll talk about that a little bit today too. And yeah, just what is ahead for this new Chiron era? What are we going into
and what are we
personally and
leaving,
collectively?
trying to at least leave behind, or the scab becomes the scar. Then on Sundays, sorry, not Saturdays, Sunday is solstice and Cancer season. So they always dovetail together. The four cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, that season begins with either an equinox or a solstice, little astro fact. So, Cancer season and Capricorn season are the solstices. And for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, it is officially going to be summer. It feels like summer here in New York. So, I am wearing, last week I talked about the sundresses that were waiting for me. I'm wearing mine. I have to
She has
say,
three of them,
I
I think. I
think I
have
had
that with this one black dress that I bought five of them. So
five. Holy shit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, if you see me you're gonna see me in this dress a lot because I actually got this at this cute little store called Amy Day in Napa. It's independently owned. She has amazing things and was like, I bought it and I've been like, she doesn't have them anymore. And I was like, this dress is like the best thing ever. I don't need a bra with it. It's flattering and it's denim, it's long, but it's got the sexy spaghetti straps for my
Check,
Venus and
check, check.
Scorpio. So I just finally found somewhere that had it and I got two more of them. So I have three in the closet here, and I'm sorry, I might wear it every damn day.
And I am wearing a dress. I didn't think I would. I pulled it out of a bag that I was about to take to the donation pile because it was a little too long, which turned out to be a good thing because I got myself a case of poison ivy
Yeah. Talk
last week.
about Chiron in prickly Aries.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I am in the Poison Ivy League because I've enrolled in, this is my Uranus and Gemini summer thing. I've enrolled in a Harvard Medical School extension course called The Science of Leadership. We believe in
Sophie
having,
does that
I
geeky
do the
stuff.
geeky stuff,
Leave
but
the gardening to me. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
well,
No, you're
I've
right.
been obsessed with all the neuroscience behind it and working with a lot of leaders, but I don't have any formal training in it. Self-educated, which is, we're self-educated with astrology too. Nothing wrong with that. The books and info is available, but it felt like the right thing to do. So, and it sounded really interesting, which so far it totally is fascinating. Brain science. And I just want to, I think that in this world we're going into of uncertainty, we do need to take our education and professional development into our own hands, not
Yeah.
wait and rely on companies to support us because they're in such chaos and flux as well. So I started with my Ivy League course and got poison ivy all in the same week. You can't make this stuff up. This is
Looks
what
so
happens when you're an
painful.
astrologer. So yeah, luckily I cut the toes off of some orange socks and wore them and pretended it was part of my Knicks fan, Dutch soccer league fan. Luckily, both teams that wear orange, so
Can we just talk? I mean,
thought it
it
was a
feels
costume.
so good. Let's talk about the Knicks and New York City feels so good. I feel like I picked the best time to come visit here. I got to watch games 4 and 5 of the Knicks. Like they had two very nail-biting, very narrow victories. That game 4 when they came back from like a 30 point, being down by 30 points. I mean, I think, this week we have a trine between Venus. Venus moved into Leo, which is about celebration and that heartfelt, heart-opening spirit. It can also be ego, but I'm not feeling that here at all.
Yeah.
Venus is trine Neptune in Aries, I think on Tuesday of this week.
Hmm.
And then on Wednesday, it's opposite Pluto in Aquarius. So it's almost like I feel like we're already getting that energy in. So what it feels like right now in New York City is so magical. I mean, it's like we have Pride, the Knicks win, and the World Cup is being played everywhere. But
We had the Puerto
with
Rican Day
that's
Parade,
right,
and Mamdani, who's a Leo rising, has
as a
been is going to
rising.
have a parade, give the Knicks the keys to the city.
Pride
It's
parade is coming up here. It's just
one of the things
parade
we said,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and one of the things we've been talking about since April 25th, when Uranus went into Gemini for the first time since 1949, it's there until 2033, is how localizing is going to be a big thing. Neighborhoods, Uranus is social liberation, social justice. It's in Gemini, which is a sign of cities and neighborhoods and communities. And there's no better time for a place like New York to have a democratic socialist mayor. And just, Tali was saying before, like the world is now divided into two realities you could call Zoran or Elon. Um,
Right. Are you on Team Zoran or Team Elon? What, and that
are
fits
we
with,
bringing people together and advocating for the everyday person, or are we creating an insane, impossible wealth gap where now everybody has to be a trillionaire? Um,
and this also fits with Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto the transformer in Aquarius. So Aquarius has these two sides. On the one hand, it can be very space age, very cold, dispassionate, and sciency, which Elon, neurodivergent even too. And then it can be uh, socially forward, justice oriented, inclusive, unifying, which I feel Zoran is. And so Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, for those, I know we have listeners all over, but at this point, it's like Elon or Zoran is, but there is I was listening to the New Yorker, their radio hour, and they had an interview with Reed Wiseman, who was the pilot on the Artemis 2 mission, and he was just talking about
it's an
what
1111 Scorpio, right?
that's right, he
Yeah.
is. He was talking about what it was like to go into space and what it was like to be all packed together and how, they had to really do what they had to do to prepare. And it was emotional, it was mental. They learned about all these different cultures' relationship to the moon and lunar cycles in like all these different
Hmm.
DEI. I'm kidding. Cultures. It was so that they could bring that energy to their reporting.
Oh,
But it
wow.
also is like
Love that.
this whole ridiculous SpaceX hype. Like, I don't,
What
the
do these
moon,
people think they're
who
just going to get on a space shuttle and it's going to be like getting on a private jet with the
want to
Kardashians or
live
something?
exactly? Do you want to live on Mars or the moon? Like, I'm not investing in that. First of all, who you give your money to, this it matters mightily. So like I have JOMO about this. I have a joy of missing out because I don't want to give that guy a dime of my money. I'll figure it out and I'll stay on planet Earth. Like, will we at some point live on the moon and Mars and you'll be, six generations, they'll be so later. They'll be so happy they have SpaceX. Well, we're not going to have a planet for you to enjoy that stock with if we don't take care of what's
It's
happening
like the
here.
billionaire bunkers. We're good in New Zealand if there's a nuclear war. Really, what are you going to walk out to? Like, you're still going to be alive. Like, preserving their lives at the cost of the life of the planet. I mean, it's just so ass backward that my brain, you can't take it with you
The
guys.
strategic thinking has gone so far afield from reality. It's like Well, you're not going to have anyone who's going to buy all those Amazon products if no one has money. You're not going to have people to be on, to get, numbers and clicks on your social media platform or to watch the movies of the studio or to hang out on Mars with. Like it's this detachment. It's very Aquarian and Uranian, this utter detachment from anything that has to do with the heart, with humanity, with the soul. And that's why I love being in New York right now. Like what you feel here is just people connecting
And
on a
what is, yeah,
soulful, like has nothing to do with money. Like the best viewing parties that I was at for the
right
Knicks
on the
games
side
on
of a
the
building.
side of a building. People were sitting up on the traffic lights,
It
and
was about being together, not like being in a private club or it's like we're so out of the Pluto and Capricorn era that went from '08 to 2024. You just see it like Pluto's now in Aquarius, which is about community and all being together and kind of level setting versus I'm elite and you're in this hierarchy. I
oh,
mean, this you can see how like everything from this like sort of girl boss era to the controversy with Gwyneth Paltrow, which we'll talk about, to
mhm.
just the Mar-a-Lago face and weird kind of MAGA Epstein class parties. It just not only is it cringe and awful, it's just it feels so out of touch. It's like there's no real joy there. It's all this performative joy. Like if I see one more picture of a bunch of toned, tanned, coiffed women performing sisterhood in a sort of like
Predatory
in like
way.
yeah at a marketing conference together in like this sunlit ballroom dancing mostly white. I'm like, what is this? What didn't we do this in like 2004 or something like that? It's just
It's
it's
not, it's
feeling so out of touch and out of step. It's not new, there's nothing new or
Well, in New
I
York,
don't know.
Mayor Bloomberg came in, a billionaire. He he let the corporations take over, pushed out a bunch of small businesses. It became unaffordable, untenable. The West Village has changed. There's an article in New York Magazine about the West Village girls, like these wealthy 20 somethings whose parents pay for their $6,000 a month apartments. And then it's just not the New York that we know. And New York has always been egregiously expensive, and artists always kind of find a way to live on the margins and find little moments and spaces and places. Like you'll never take that from here. But I went out to dinner and I was walking through the Lower East Side, and it was so one of the most joyful moments I've had here. Like the fire hydrant was open with water
Oh
spraying out.
wow,
It was
that's
like a
so
Spike Lee
70s.
movie set. And yeah, and there were a bunch of guys sitting out. They were mostly black and Latino, and just stopped and chatted with them. They had their chairs out, like, and they felt they lived in the neighborhood, and they felt that they could come sit on the street, shoot the shit, talk to their neighbors, talk. And I was like, this is a safe space here that in New York City for the people who made it what it is. And it hasn't felt that way for a long time. And I know Zoran's intentionality around inclusivity. He's making it cool to be an everyday person
Affordable
again, to
housing,
not be
bus.
wealthy, to be a brown and black person and celebrate your culture and not be a wealthy elite. And he's really exposing that. So that is the Aquarian energy that I personally am here for and love. And it was
Yeah.
just like,
Well, and
we need that around the
interestingly,
rest of the country.
yeah, I was with my friend Angelina because we did something for New York City Tech Week, and she was talking about how her kids were discussing the Knicks game and how some of the players were Capricorns or this or that. And I was like, maybe I should just make a video for Instagram and look at the charts. And I went down that rabbit hole. So if you follow us
You
on
really did. It's
Instagram,
great.
AstroTwins, you can see all the Knicks coverage. I ended up accidentally predicting exactly what happened in
The final
yeah,
that
the
tip in
final
with OG and Jalen Brunson. Yeah.
yeah, I said that Jalen Brunson has a Libra North Node, Aries South Node, so there might be a magic moment where he instead of making the winning shot, passes the ball to a team member. And that's exactly what happens. So I love how astrology can show that. But I was reflecting too. So thank you, Angelina, for always inspiring me to this is
Yeah.
my Virgo friend where we balance each other out perfectly with these kind of always pushing each other to grow. But um so I was really reflecting because I'd also attended this amazing summit called the Wealth Catalyst Summit that our friend Shama Bunton puts on. And really helping women, not just women who've inherited wealth, but all the hardworking professional women who, instead of coming up with another marketing funnel, want to actually start to use their wealth to shape the world that we're part of.
Very Chiron and Taurus, by the
Very,
way.
yeah. So I'm actually going to be speaking at the summit in October in San Francisco. So we'll share the details when those tickets go on sale. I'd love to see some of you guys there. So, one of the speakers at that summit was in sports investing, and she was talking about how sports are the antidote to AI because they're
Mm.
IRL events where people actually come out, step away from their screens, and how they really stimulate local economies because there's food and beverage, hospitality, travel, so much that happens around the stadium. Now, if only some of the stadiums were actually owned by the people, the owners of them are off, sadly, often
It's been a really,
not on the right side of history. But I was thinking about what
yeah.
astrologically was causing this, and what I kept seeing was Aries,
Mm.
Neptune, which is about healing, compassion, fantasy, yeah,
Boundlessness.
manifesting. Chiron, the wounded healer, and Saturn, which is, achievements, are all in Aries. So I feel like sports have
Mm.
this sports. Neptune's in Aries until 2039. Chiron is leaving, but it's at the anaretic 29 degree, which is a real key, important degree of any sign. And then Saturn's there till 2028. So I feel like sports are going to be the unlikely healing point for so many of us for the next 13 years, actually. And you can see that with
Mm.
FIFA. I mean, I was wearing my orange arm socks, and when I was reflecting, I was like, I don't feel weird because everybody is wearing a costume. It's Pride Month. They're wearing their team colors. Everyone,
Venus and Leo
yeah, everyone's wearing
till July
Knicks or
9th.
their World Cup teams colors and jerseys. So I was like, God, I wish every day you could be like dress like the weirdo fan, whatever Leo that you are, because I just felt so comfortable. I didn't want to be all dressed up and polished and masking. I was like, I just want to be my weird self. So there was that healing energy. And Neptune also rules dance. And some of the videos I've also been loving is seeing these opposing team World Cup fans dancing together, like
Really?
Mexico and South Korea. They started playing Gangnam Style and like they were all dancing.
Whoa,
Yeah, and
really?
then I saw like Scotland and Haiti, the fan. I mean, these are like not cultures that you normally like. The Netherlands played Japan and they tied. It was like, I love the World Cup because it
Oh God.
brings like two cultures that are sometimes have absolutely nothing in common except their love of this game together. And Leo rules play games. So with Venus and Leo until mid-July,
It's
like
so
World Cup
perfect.
season is going to be really fun. That's going to go into Virgo and it'll get very technical, I imagine. But
At the end. Oh
yeah,
God, yeah. It's been a big sports year for me because and it's kind of funny. Like I'm not personally, I'm probably the sports fan that people who are real fans like Spike Lee, or Timothy Chalamet are like, you're not a real fan. But it's like we had, because I don't watch every single game, but we had the Seahawks in Seattle won the Super Bowl, and now I'm in New York when the Knicks win the NBA championship. And then when I go back to Seattle, the World Cup is happening. And to your point, you know, there, you know, because of what's happening with ICE and the, anti-immigrant racism here, there has been an impact on the World Cup in the United States. I really love that all these joyful events they overshadowed a sports event that was on the other side of things, which was Trump's 80th birthday this past Sunday, June 14th. I'm surprised that a lot of
A
people haven't known
non-event
about that. Yeah,
of
there
this
was
UFC fight that had, was 20 or 30 million dollars to put on. Idiotic fighter at
a
the end
cage
said something
match.
about Michelle Obama's a man, America, am I right? Donald Trump fell asleep. Joe Rogan was I
Yeah.
mean,
If you
it just
didn't
looks like
hear
such a
about this,
clown show compared to what's
yeah.
going on
Well, a lot of
here.
people don't even have that I've talked to didn't even realize this was happening. So what actually happened yesterday, and it's been going on for the last few weeks, is that Trump set up this giant UFC arena and ring for the, Ultimate Fighting Championships for this, these toxic masculinity, chest pounding, fake wrestling matches, monster trucker. And it was like the White House lawn just got tore up. And didn't you say, Ophi, that you read that all of the pieces were actually none of the parts for this cage match stadium were even made in the
No, they
USA?
came over from Europe and yeah,
Belgium, right?
Belgium and maybe the Netherlands or something. And yeah, had to be put
For the
together. They had to
250th
grade. Yeah, for
birthday.
America's 250th, we imported steel to build a cage. The irony of that with, and we can't
A
forget. That's the
cage,
thing, like
just
with
like the cage is
I was
being
gonna
built for
say,
ICE
well,
since
with
prison.
Neptune and Aries, like I really like the creator Jolly Ginger, and he reminds us, he's like, I don't
Jolly
even
good ginger,
Jolly
yeah.
Good Ginger, yeah,
Hmm.
I say his name wrong, but he's like, I haven't been posting as much because we're forgetting what's still happening, that these concentration camps are being built. So amidst this is so Venus opposite Pluto to Chiron 29th degree of Aries and Taurus, like we have to
Look at
have
that.
this joy that we're having in New York City of coming together and remember that like if we can come together to celebrate the victory of the Knicks, we also can come together to continue to protect our neighbors and the people who finally felt safe to come out because they were afraid, some of them perhaps, of ICE coming to arrest
Or
them
just racial
or yeah,
profiling from
or
the
be
police.
harassed or anything like that. So it's such, again, it's this Uranus and Gemini, we're living in two realities. And I want to address the toxic masculinity thing because the whole idea of like, oh, we're not really fans. Sports have not been safe for women. They were, and one of the things that has created this interest in sports investing, I learned, is the WNBA and women's soccer. Like, there are
Mm.
now, because it's been around for a while, there are now some real there's a real fan base for women's sports that wasn't there before. The rugby team, like at the
Women's
Olympics,
soccer too, Megan
soccer.
Rapinoe.
Exactly. So it's a real market and it's helped women feel welcome and safe in spaces, in athletic spaces as fans and spectators as well.
Oh, that makes sense.
Team owners or the Seahawks owned by a woman. I mean,
That's right. Hmm.
yeah, it's just if there's a reason that we didn't. But then you see this UFC manosphere cage and it's like that is not a welcoming space for
Absolutely not.
women. It's like I think her name is Lauren Perota. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
she's
I
hilarious.
love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren Perota, who I also follow as an Instagram commentator, was describing it as Trump's Pride Parade with all the oiled men's bodies. I've been loving like the sauciness of women
Lauren
towards men.
Sarita, I think.
Karita,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I've been loving the sauciness of women, like the women from the I've Had It podcast that were talking about catching print when you see the outline of a man's package through his sweatpants and how there's all of a sudden all this male penile augmentation boom with the plastic surgeons.
How
And that is
Saturn and
so Saturn
Aries
and Aries. It's like, guys, I don't think women are not walking around. The only measuring sticks we're walking around with is for our own bodies. Welcome to
I
what
don't
we've been
think that's
experiencing.
true, actually.
No,
Like there's no for there's a lot of talk about dick size and now men are getting,
but
there
is it among women or is it
it's
among men?
it's among women and it
Okay.
has been for, it has been for a long time, but it's gotten more and more I mean, don't be there's men have felt the pressure around height, around dick size, around all kinds of things like that. But like the looks maxing has
The
got like
looks max
I
thing
I,
is
I
really in it.
actually hate that, it's like it doesn't feel good and ha ha that they're going through it now. It's like it's just the
Like
same toxic, you know, out of, body focused, unhealthy pressure and separation and narcissism, and body shaming that women have had a lot more of all along. But
I feel like this is the result of the South Node going through Virgo, which is
mhm,
that perfectionistic,
thank God that's
obsessive.
almost over.
Yeah, thank God we only have till July 26th. I feel like it's at its height. We're at no Virgo maxing. And I
Well,
love my
yeah.
Virgos, but this is yeah, it's like there's nowhere left to go except Mars at this
Well,
point.
a lot of, that guy Clavicular who is the looks maxing, he's
Sagittarius.
a sad a guy. Well, he
Yeah.
didn't he like break his jaw or like do
He
some
broke his
shit?
legs, I think recently. He's like breaks bone. I mean, he's got serious
This
issues, serious mental
this is
health
where
issues.
this is I mean the whole longevity movement. I was reading that, guys have been like taking testosterone, but it shrinks their balls and actually make dulls their sex drive if they take too much of it. So it's like
Apparently, the men who are getting this augmentation, it's not even about performance. It's about like what they
looks.
see when they catch print in the gym mirror while they're working out and obsessing over their looks. So great, we're a culture of
Neptune illusions and fantasy around, in
masculinity.
Aries, masculinity, or as well, just kind of that competitive energy around the illusion we put out there. Hopefully, there will be a healing as Chiron. Let's talk about Chiron and Taurus because Taurus
Yeah.
is associated with the body. And
Yeah, and before we hop over to Taurus, just one last fascinating fact. When I looked at the Knicks winning the playoffs, their last win was 53 years ago, and of course, Chiron is a 50 to 55 year window. So I was like, ding, ding, ding. Let me look at the chart of that. The only thing that was the same between 1973 and 2026's win was that Chiron was an
it's
Aries.
so crazy.
So, which is the healing of the wound. And I mean, it was as one of our Instagram followers pointed out, Jalen Brunson's dad is an assistant coach for the Knicks, and it was a healing of the wound around their loss in 1999 to the Spurs. So, which was
Because his
during
dad played on the team then, huh?
I think so, yeah. But and he was, I guess 1999 was the last time we had a Leo North Node.
Hmm.
Not the last time. 1999 we had a Leo North Node, Aquarius South Node. Now we're about to go into the opposite. So it was a whole lot of full circling. But yeah, let's talk about Chiron and Taurus. You did some
Yeah.
really interesting research on that for our 2026
Yeah, well,
horoscopes
on a
too.
personal note, Chiron, the wounded healer, like we are saying, like it's not, it's there is the wounds that we carry with us when, metabolized and dressed can turn into healing gifts. So Taurus is the body, it comes into, it's like that first earth sign, that material grounding in your body. So the five senses, not the sixth. The sixth goes to Taurus's opposite sign of Scorpio, but
Hmm.
touch, taste, texture, sight, scent. These are the things that I think we may find ourselves wanting more of, to be more embodied, to be more present in the moment, to slow down, to have more analog experiences. Like as AI gets pushed on us through Uranus and Gemini, Pluto and
All the
Aquarius.
IPOs of OpenAI and Anthropic ahead,
Right. But
XAI with SpaceX,
I mean, as all that comes and is
Google.
just so devoid of anything tactile or embodied, or what do they say, erogenous. Here comes Chiron to remind us how good it feels to just be pressed up against another person cheering on your team, to be watching these feats of amazing physical performance, to be,
To
you
be in
know,
nature,
yeah, to
and
care
the
about the
importance of
climate.
preserving it, even if it gives you poison ivy. Sounds like a
Well, I actually
Chiron and
saw a
Taurus preview.
great, I saw a great film. Got to catch a couple of films at the Tribeca Film Fest, which were both kind of Chiron and Taurus. The first one I saw was The Lion Queen, which was about Jocelyn Wildenstein.
Wow, yeah.
She,
Plastic surgery extraordinaire, right? Did she
yeah,
have
she actually was married to um one of the Wildenstein sons. It was mind blowing. Like the father, George Wildenstein, I think his name was German. They were German Jews and they were art dealers, and he kind of saved his family from the Nazis by looting art. And they had like a whole
oh,
collection that he sold to the Nazis from probably Jewish homes where the people were taken to concentration camps. This horrible, horrible guy.
oh,
His two sons, multi-billionaires. Jocelyn married one of them. They were on a safari together in Kenya. So she was obsessed with lions. Her father had given her a book about lions. And so she had all this plastic surgery done as she started to age to make herself look like a cat. And it was so interesting.
so
There's
wild.
two birthdays for her. One says she's a Leo, and the other says she's a Virgo, and either one
But they
would
both,
fit.
I could believe
But
both.
that's very like
That's
kind of
so
Chiron and
wild.
Taurus, like as we're talking about all this looks maxing. She was an early, like, I mean, she was kind of in the Amanda Lepore, who's a famous drag queen who is like
Lion like. Lives in the
augmented her body.
neighborhood.
Yeah, augmented
Seen
her
her around.
face so
And
much.
boobs.
Yeah, but yeah, she was what's the photographer who David LaChapelle took a lot of images of her, and very like high glam. The other movie I saw was also Chiron and Taurus. It's called Just Look Up. It was about climate defiance activism that led by Michael Greenberg, who I'd never heard of before, but now he's my new hero. He is Jewish, queer, totally on the spectrum, and just so damn inspiring. So his group, they are the ones who go like when the CEO of, Bank of America is giving a talk at a country club, they go undercover and they get on stage, off fossil fuels. Yeah, they interrupted Joe Manchin, JD Vance, and all the footage is pre-election. Then they have a little footage of post-Trump's election. But, you see people going and, doing these extreme activist things. And I've always been like, why are they doing that? What is the point? It doesn't work. What I really understood from seeing Just Look Up was that the reason they do that is because it gets it in the news. It pushes, they
Mm,
might be
that's
the
interesting.
crazies, but it pushes climate changing, and then people go online and they see the video and they look up climate defiance, and then they're
Ah.
like, go to their feed on X or wherever, and they're like, okay, now I can get in tune with the issues. And so I'm like, that's super smart. And he's a great,
Hmm.
shameless fundraiser. He was at some, he's a comedian too, but he's just this like, it's like he found his purpose. Kind of, it's interesting that, Greta Thunberg also on this, neurodivergent, Asperger's, she says.
Well, I was reading something about how it's called hyper empathy, which a lot of people who are on the spectrum have. So that's why they can't separate, they can't just shut their feelings.
Yeah, he was so empathic. I mean, it just, we're all somewhere on the spectrum, but the neurospicy, neurodivergent, neuroatypical, whatever you want to
I call
call
it
it.
neuro delightful personally.
Yeah, he was neuro delightful, but yeah, there was so much empathy for and I think about the flotilla that Greta Thunberg led. Did they really think that they were going to be able to get past the Israeli military? No, now I get it, but it made everybody and pay attention. And that's kind of, if you do something on that level, that's what you have to do to get something in the news when you have all these billionaires pouring money in. So there's an example of kind of Chiron and Taurus, like working with what you have, being resourceful. Like the thing about, yeah, sure, there's a lot of money behind sports, but enjoying sports with community, playing sports, doing things
Yeah.
with your body, doing activism with your body. You know, this is what I see ahead for it's going to start up this summer more, I think, with Chiron from June 19th to September 17th, but next year in 2027, April 14th for the 8 years. I'm excited for it because I think we are all still animals inside. Our animal instincts have been dulled so much by screens and the detachment from human contact that came from the pandemic. And I think this is going to be an opportunity for us to heal our relationship with the earth, with land, with growing our own food, with connecting to each other in a way that's just that primal basic need, that tactile heart to heart, soul to soul that's been missing.
Yeah, I just hope that we don't have to go through something really rough to get there. I do believe that as
Probably will
well.
with
But
Chiron.
looking at,
Well, we have
looking at nine, yeah,
them.
well, sure, yeah. I mean, looking at the 1976 to 83 period with the oil crisis and the Iranian Revolution in 1979. And
Mhm.
then the 1926 to 34 Chiron and Taurus period brought us the roaring 20s, but the stock market crashed. They all led to healing. We got, at the end of it, we got the
Won't be the best.
FDIC,
Yeah.
we got, you know, a lot of protections put in place to prevent those kind of crashes. Hopefully, I mean, but now with what's going on with the SpaceX IPO, how it was pushed through, there were so many things that didn't go according to what one would expect. I mean, Elon got away with so much. He owns 80%. It's bundled in XAI
It
now.
didn't do its seasoning
Yeah, it
time.
didn't do
Yeah.
any of the things. So, and then we have this potential super El Nino, summer ahead during the first Chiron and Taurus. So, but will it help us find solutions and local ones with Uranus and Gemini? I want to shout out the Solutions Project. We work with them. Gloria Walton, the CEO, is a good friend of ours, and check them out for any local initiatives you may want to
Well, they
do.
do environmental
Justice.
justice because, of course, there's a disproportionate impact on Black and brown and poor people when it comes to data centers being built or, toxic factories. And, not just here in the United States, but Ghana and places in Africa have just beaches filled with washed up, fast fashion
Wall,
throwaway.
mountains of textile.
Some amazing, like,
What I love what they do though, they're US based, is they actually fund
the solutions
yeah,
project.
they get grant money and then they give it to specific neighborhood initiatives to build, like put solar panels in a whole area, create a school or
Drop the
sustainable
Lincoln,
farming.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So it's not just, justice with fighting legally, which needs to happen, but it's actually like we're gonna actually give money to the people who live there because we believe that they know what their community needs better than some sort of person who just comes in from the outside and, you know, develops the neighborhood and then gentrifies it and nobody can afford to live there anymore. So great, you cleaned up the neighborhood and everyone who lived there now has to move.
Move.
So like
Screw
that's,
you. That
that
happened all
just
over Seattle, all over. It's happened so anywhere.
everywhere.
It's just striking me like how bizarre these paradoxes are going to be over the next few years, the rest of the decade, because here we have Uranus pushing us for progress and change and science, but it's in Gemini, which is hyper localized. It's about our communities. And we have Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto's like this deep diving, soulful energy, and Aquarius can be cool and detached. And then we have, and while Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius are happening, like pushing us into outer space and new frontiers, Chiron and Taurus is like this planet too. This, Earth, this is a beautiful place. Let's heal our connection to this beautiful planet. And not that people haven't been saying that for a long time, but I think just like it's as divided as, the way most people feel about just like the economy and gas prices and
That happened
unaffordability,
in
and then these billionaires and their narratives they're pushing here in the United
That
States.
happened in 2021. We had the Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. We had
That's
that
right.
tension between the old and the new, the material and the few. Kind of Taurus is traditions and the past. Aquarius is the future and progress. So we're going to be navigating that tension again. And it's interesting because Anthropic was going to release Fable, its next edition of Claude, and it was blocked by the Trump administration, probably as a favor to SpaceX and XAI because Anthropic is planning on having an IPO. It's actually a super Aquarius. I'm looking at the
Mm.
chart. It was found as an Aquarius, but it has Saturn in Aquarius and Pluto, transiting Pluto is right over the company's Saturn, which is a nefarious hidden agenda causing Saturn restrictions. So
Or
it's,
somebody with power and wealth and hidden
yeah,
resources clamping down
on
and
its
and stopping
progress
its
and
growth.
development. Yeah, so that's happening. That's going to be going on for a while. Pluto's retrograde. So it's also shady, but I think
Meanwhile, it's very Aquarian, and anyone who tries to tell ourselves we're consciously using AI will use Claude. I find it's like,
right.
what are we kidding ourselves?
I mean, it's not the thing is, and I've been exploring the world of tech and AI because I've always, since our mom brought home our first computer in the 80s, we've been using technology. And it's not that technology is the enemy inherently. Everything is technology if you use it as a tool. The enemy is the people behind it. I've been really thinking about that. I've been thinking, like, because there is such, if you're a conscious humanist person, a woman, a member of any marginalized community, being, impacted by so many of the horrors around the way these big tech companies and billionaires are developing and using AI. It feels impossible to support that. But, you know, and women who have hyped it and been, non-critical thinking cheerleaders for it have gotten rightly dragged. At the same time, if we just completely shut it out and put blinders on and don't even learn about it, learning about it doesn't mean you're
Right.
participating in it, doesn't mean you're using it. It just means you're aware. I think about like what if, the equivalent of the political system we live in? We live in a capitalist, patriarchal system that was not created for us any more than this was. It was not
Right.
created for the people, even if it was advertised to us that way. What if women, for example, didn't participate in politics in any way and just didn't vote, opted out? We would have no rights.
Hmm.
So I am staying on top of it just to understand, just to be educated and informed. Following your curiosity doesn't mean you have to go build a data center. Although if you're investing in the S&P or any kind of ETF stock fund, you now are investing in SpaceX and
Because
places
it's
like
an
that because they decide what's in that bundle. And you're funding the Metas and the Googles and the Amazons probably too. So you know, I also kind of laugh when I see people on Instagram denouncing AI when you're using Meta, which is one of the most
right.
egregious. It's like
Right.
there's no getting around it. So we have to we have to also
Be aware and understand.
be
Well,
aware and be
yeah.
accountable. Like Meta and Instagram allow us to forge communities and stay in touch with each other. I was watching this guy who was saying he was building Linux-based his own server, and what he realized was how freaking hard and humbling it was and how reliant he is on Meta and Google and how almost impossible. He's like, I've got to like I'm realizing like change is really freaking hard. I think that's the lesson here. It's like going to Mars sounds like a great idea. When you're drinking this Kool-Aid, having your own server or whatever, but what it really takes to do that is something so
Well, that's what
different.
just going to see the dark side of the moon and
Yeah,
hearing from Reed Wiseman on that podcast I was talking about earlier, like it was like they were in this small space capsule, and when one of them was working out or preparing lunch, like the others had to be in this tiny corner and, just entering the atmosphere and leaving. It's just like
it's not what we were
there were so
designed to
many
do.
specific measurements, and it's just
We're
like
calibrated to this planet. Like, why are we not just fixing it?
look
I
at
mean,
how long it took us to evolve from, to have an opposable thumb, and all of a sudden you
yeah,
think you're gonna, I mean,
have a lunar cow. I mean, the thing is, like, Elon is a Cancer with an Aquarius North Node. Jupiter is about to leave Cancer June 30th, so his favored year is coming to an end. And he's going to have his North Node return, which is a karmic reckoning. So we'll see how that all goes. I mean, if you want to see my analysis of the SpaceX chart, I did it for the first trade at 11:46 a.m. It has a lot of lucky sort of optic parts, but it has Saturn in the eighth house, which is accounting investors. Definitely going to have to answer to those investors. And 2028 is when time will really tell for it. So the goodwill doesn't last
well,
forever.
Bernie Sanders is saying, AI companies should give everybody in the country a share of the ownership. Like he's coming up with these like socialist ideas for how, like that they
Interesting.
should not have that much power. And
And that is the big, as we go into this Aquarius North Node and Jupiter going into Leo, as the South Node goes into Leo, the summer is going to be such a pivot point. A lot
Mhm.
of things are going to kind of lock into new places. And you'll see, like, I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow has been in the news for just horrifically bad choices and
She made,
etc.
she was on a podcast where she was like,
It was
my
her
husband think,
podcast.
oh, it was a Goop podcast, and she's like, my husband thinks I'm a Republican, and basically like, I really just don't care about anything right now in politics. And then
But she's also like I think people have to pay to be on the Goop podcast. She's also platformed
Mm.
this drone military technology guy, a nuclear energy. She's like suddenly having these kind of red pill tech oligarchs on her
Mm.
show. And you just have to wonder. I was looking at the chart of Goop. It was formed, there's no date available, but September 2008 with an Aquarius North Node. So Goop itself as a company is about to have a
Interesting.
North Node return. So just like Elon Musk and Bitcoin, these are all coming to a karmic reckoning
Yeah,
point.
the North Node return. So for those people who were born um in you know seven
1971, early 72, up until like the end of April
yeah,
72.
you're having it. And then when in the 90s was it? Like 1990, I think
Little
1990 to,
89 to 90, like I
and if
think
you're born in like 1980 or like 1962-ish, you'll have a nodal opposition. You have the opposite. You have an Aquarius
we'll
South
drop a
Node,
link
Leo
to our
North
North
Node.
Node
But
calculator.
basically, the lunar nodes are these 2 points in the sky where the eclipses are happening. And so when you were born, they were in these two opposite signs. So you're moving from the south node, that's kind of this karma you bring into this life, but can also be like a real like area of expertise as well. And then the north node is the evolution of it, the new language or the dharma work you're here to do. So collectively, globally, we are finishing up since January 11th, 2025, South Node, that incoming karma in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. So, this very, again, we were talking about this body-based perfectionism, like, you know,
GLP-1s, plant medicine, all the neural implants, all the yeah, the maxing of everything and
and even
optimizing of
just like the
biohacking.
systems being like Doge coming in and like breaking all these like structures of
Yeah, Virgo is
government
like the
and insurance.
administrative offices that nobody pays just all the sort of policy kind of quote unquote boring. Yeah, the doging of
And Pisces is illusions and
the data theft of it all. That's so
even
Virgo
data
Pisces.
data centers or so
Yeah,
that,
so
and
Virgo
how they
South and
drain the water of
nefarious.
Pisces too.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we're moving out of that July 26th. I don't, it's not like anything has been resolved, but we see now. It's like in our faces. So next up, the South Node, July 26th, goes into Leo. And what's interesting about that is that Jupiter, which is the maximizer, the exposer, and the amplifier, will be in Leo for most of that time. Jupiter goes into Leo this June 30th, and it goes all the way until 2027, July 26th. Now, July 26th, interesting that it's the same day, 2026. This year, the South Node goes into Leo till March 26th, 2028. So there's a crossover for basically the first 11 months of it. And so it's like, boy, talk about like exposing this Leo power grab,
And then
and
there's going to
bringing
be
the
Mars
elevated
retrograde in early
in
2027 in
Leo.
Leo too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So like this whole no kings thing is gonna flare up again. And then Aquarius is technology, science, space travel, but also social programs. So Zoran and Elon energy coming in, like the reckoning and what's the right way to do AI? What's the right way to do social programs? Is it a grocery store in East Harlem that's owned by the city that Zoran Mamdani's about to? I mean, he's really experimenting with,
universal child care, which I love that he has a Cancer South node, so he's
yeah.
there for the
Or
families
is
and him
it,
and
I think one of the like the Gwynethicide that people are calling her. So one of the things that really angered people was that she did this luxury high-rise ad for the city of Herzliya in Israel. Like, I wake up and I take a run in the park, not Central Park, it's Herzliya, Israel. And just the given that, you know, the destruction of Gaza and Lebanon and this desire, this ridiculous tone, like genocidal
bubble.
Jared Kushner building projects over Gaza. Like, get all the people out of there and we're going to build beachfront properties. It was so adjacent to that, um, that people were like, what are you doing? And that's like, are you that out of touch? Are you that clueless? And it seems like if she doesn't care about anything, she may be, but I don't know how anyone, this is my, of course, my perspective, my lens, but people can tune. I've been talking to
Can live in a
people who
bubble,
don't know, I don't
celebrity
watch the
bubble.
news. I like, to me, that's, I don't know, you're obviously probably not listening to us if you aren't at least a little bit interested in the news. Some of you tell us that you get the news from us. So,
And
you
we
know,
understand because we do have an
very
audience of
stressful.
hyper empaths, highly sensitive people,
Mm,
healers, and you do have to protect your nervous system. It's very hard to figure out how to stay informed, be resilient, and not. I mean, I was offered a Tribeca Film Festival ticket last night walking home from a restaurant. It was their final movie. It was a
mm,
movie called 4,000 Days. And I was like, I was itchy from my poison ivy. So I was like, okay, I got to just go home and let the dog out and maybe I'll come back. And I looked up the movie and it's about these four families whose sons, I think, were like maybe even killed in fraternity
mm.
hazing culture and how they
Good
came
God, no.
together. I was like, you know what? I support that they're doing that, but I cannot sit there and take that in. That will, first of all, like that toxic masculine culture. Like
Oh, it'd be
my
great.
heart goes out to anyone who loses a child, and to all the boys who are dragged into that at a pivotal, crucial time in their development. I don't have sons. I have a gay nephew, and I care, but I also was like, I gotta choose what I take in. This is not the thing I want to take in at 10 o'clock at night before I go to bed. And a Gemini new moon is about to happen. I'm like,
Hmm.
I hope this reaches the right audience. I know that this is a problem. So it was, for me, it was like that was a choice of what I was going to take in.
Yeah.
And so we do understand. And it does affect you emotionally when you do that. So hopefully we'll find ways. I love Monty Mater. She does like I watch the news so you don't have to. She had a great Instagram that I saw last night before bed. She was like, while other girls were dreaming of their wedding day and planning it, I was dreaming of owning a library. So she just bought a house and um created her dream library and showed it. It was so like for the nerdy book girls that we all are. And I loved that so much. So she's a former evangelical Christian who was forced to memorize the Bible, but had an awakening and now
Mm.
like uses that knowledge to fight for the people. So she's a great creator, Libra, of course.
All for that. Yes.
Yeah. So here we find ourselves, and at the end of the week we have the summer solstice. Now, solstice comes from the Latin word sol sistere. I like to say soul sister,
Mm.
which means sun standing still. And it's this 3-day opportunity. It's a summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere where the sun reaches its highest point in the sky before it begins its descent. It's the longest day, as you probably know. Um, but it's like a 3-day where it would appear the sun would appear to stand
Hover.
still.
Yeah.
So for us here, us earthlings, it's an opportunity to stand still, pause, reflect, correct course before we dive into things. And I'm sure we could all use a moment for that. So that's really what the invitation is. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? All the
Hmm.
people that got swept up in the SpaceX hype or some, I mean, hopefully you're getting swept up in the Knicks hype is great. But still it was a lot. It's been a lot of energy. So just to let it kind of settle in all the awful things that are happening too, that are still going on in our
Yeah.
country, even if they're not the main news headline. The war. Supposedly there's another ceasefire, but they don't seem to last or be honored by anyone. So it's just just the gas prices are crazy, and I hope the solstice brings some kind of correction. So let's wrap up with human design
Prophecies,
gates
yeah.
for the week. So the sun travels through 5 degrees of every zodiac sign and matches up in those degrees with one of the 64 I Ching hexagrams known as the gates in human design. So June 13th to 19th, it's in the gate 12, the gate of caution, or our friend Erin Claire Jones, who I've learned a lot about human design from, calls it the gate of timing. And this is the last gate. Human design is like somatic astrology. It
Yeah.
maps onto the body in different
Chakras,
chakras
yeah.
or energy centers. So this is the last throat gate. They've been straight through the throat gate since May 9th.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of the Taurus and Gemini gates are in the throat.
Mm.
And so using our voices, I would say we've learned a lot in the last month and a half. So it may be about kind of sorting that out, saying things in the right timing. It's funny, we have several events where we have to talk about the astrological timing coming up this week. So that's kind of funny for us. So kind of just thinking before you speak, which is always a good idea. And then June 19th to 25, the sun moves into a gate that's in the G center,
So
which
June
is,
19th is Friday, yeah.
yeah, Friday until the 25th, the gate of extremes, which sounds extreme, but it's about, riding the wave. It's very solstice, very Cancer, where go from wanting to be out with a bunch of people to being in your cocoon. It's like this sort of wider emotional range. Um, the compassion of Cancer season with the G center is very focused, directional, and it's kind of the love gate.
The G center sits between the throat, it's below the throat and the sacral because there's nine chakras instead of seven in human design. So the heart is actually over to the side. And but yeah,
The
so it's
heart is like the will and the ego in human design. The G center is more like what we would think of as our heart. It's like your purest essence, highest purpose, who you are. So we'll be thinking about that during the summer solstice. It's a
Mhm.
great end of the week and into the solstice weekend to think about, why am I here? What am I here to do? And so you may need the extremes. You may need to kind of go off to
Right.
reflect on all the things you've taken in. So it really matches very well with the summer solstice. And speaking of, just a few invitations. We are doing our next monthly manifestation meetup, our free live webinar on June 23rd. Next Tuesday, you can sign up already. And we're going to do manifesting with the moon. We go with the ruling planet of the zodiac signs. We'll touch on the lunar nodes and the moon and how you can set intentions aligned with that for the
So
month ahead.
astrostyle.com/events is where you can find the link for that.
We'll drop the link there. We have a few reading slots. If you want to do your summer astrological chart reading, find out what's ahead for all these really new conditions with Jupiter and Leo, Chiron and Taurus, the nodes
Yeah.
moving.
And thanks to everyone who has been signing up, that people have been, yeah, piling in. So yeah,
Yeah, we've really loved
we
meeting
only
you,
can do
talking
so
to
many
you.
per week. And so, yeah, there's get on the calendar at astrostyle.com/readings if you want to do that this summer. Other than that, we are here writing away on our 2027 horoscope guide. We have a theme for it, which we'll reveal later this summer and on 8/8 with our Lionsgate event that we do every year. But we'll talk about that more as we go along. But yeah, busy times, busy writing times. We're already in the next year. I was
I
like
know, like
so busy.
2026,
I
isn't
know
it
I'm like
2027?
time traveling, timeline jumping. I was like earlier this week, a friend was like, "Well, we have the new moon on." So I was like, "New moon? Oh yeah, right. The
Right, we're kind of
Gemini
in
new
that.
super moon. Right. That was yeah. So hope I'm glad we're on the other side of that new super moon because it was really just discombobulating. Though I am enjoying the heck out of Gemini's season with Uranus there. It's definitely brought more of a social energy and togetherness. So happy last week of Gemini season.
Summer
And can get
solstice.
ready. You're about to pick up the baton late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, depending where you are on the planet. And okay, well, we'll be back with more next week and have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.